I just wanted to,
The floor is yours.
We've been talking, I think I've mentioned to the board that the town is considering establishing a district improvement finance program for the Five Corners to help offset some of the costs associated with the sewer construction project. DIF, as it's more easily referred to, allows a community to define a district like the Five Corners where the community is going to make some major capital investments like installing a sewer system, and then take the new growth revenues or a portion of new growth revenues to help pay the costs of those infrastructure improvements as that new growth occurs. That growth being that wouldn't have been able to occur without the capital investment by the town. And tonight we're presenting the master plan for the Five Corners District Improvement Finance Program for their review and discussion. There will be 2 other public meetings that will be held. The board will be invited to attend those meetings and hear more in detail what the program entails. So I just wanted to make sure you are aware of that and for your invitations, and please feel free to participate and join us.
All right, great, thanks. Okay, so I think Lincoln Estates is up, right? I can find it. Yes, continued public hearing for Lincoln Estates 2. Please come forward. Go for it.
No, I'll stand up there.
When you're ready, just get a mic close, I guess. Hopefully it'll pick you up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hearing me. Walter Hermano, PE for the record, here representing Mr. Adams in Lincoln Estates 2, 233 Rear Lincoln Street. Also in attendance here is Frank Rivlin, the land surveyor for the project. We had a meeting recently with the peer reviewer at the request of the board. That was about the end of December, I believe, December 19th. We've received the peer reviewer's comments. We've also been back to the drawing board. We made some additional changes to the plan. We understand the board was very concerned about off-site flooding, especially downstream. And we decided upon at the meeting to address that concern, and also total suspended solids to the maximum extent practical, considering it's a wetlands area and we have a roadway proposed up against it. There was a few other items that were discussed, and we've also included them on the plan. If I could just begin to walk through the proposed changes to the plan.
Walter, may I ask, was that uploaded to Permitize, the revised plan?
Yes, it was.
And what's the date of that plan? Because it's kind of hard to tell with all the sheets.
We have a date of...
Or which plan? I have a plan dated 1/30.
Yes, that's the last
That's the one?
revision
Okay.
on this plan.
Okay.
We have a proposed roadway here that is not proposed to be accepted by the town. And it leads to 2 drives, one for one lot on the left, one for one lot on the right. And the pavement, we reduced that slightly in order to reduce the amount of runoff that we would have to manage for this project. And whereas it was 20 feet, we made it back down to 18, which is still very acceptable and meets all applicable standards for the fire department to get in and out of there. The design I had before was bumper to bumper, they would be entirely over pavement on our turning radius calculations. Now the bumper might slightly come over the edge of the pavement, which will not impede their progress if they had to access either lot. But we reduced that in an effort to reduce potential runoff. We've also added, in addition to the swales, we have a sediment forebay, and we have what's called a wet swale. The wet swale is designed when you have applications like this where the project is very close to or at or in the water table. That's how the wet swale is designed to function. It's a stormwater management BMP, best management practice. As part of the overall stormwater analysis to determine that there was no increase in peak rate of runoff all the way through the 100-year storm event, we calculated the areas and broke them down pre and post construction. We've shown the build out on the lot. There might be a few tweaks that we could make to the plan, but right now we've shown the existing houses, proposed infiltration for the roof runoff, and we have the drives shown for both both lots. The calculations do show that we have no increase in peak rate of runoff all the way through the 100-year storm event. We've also reduced the total suspended solids. We get a 70% reduction for the BMPs that are proposed right now. What you don't see is that we also have what's called water quality volume that we're treating both for the 2 and the 10-year storm events, which is one of the standards that are not applicable at this location for this project because it's only a 2-lot subdivision. It's not applicable at any of the standards for that matter at the state level or at the local level, but we're doing our best considering the concerns the board had with runoff. The culvert, the existing culvert is slightly higher than the required elevation that it be set at. On the plan, I proposed a certain elevation of 204.50 and 204.60. My client would like to hold the requirement that the conservation had of an elevation of 204. Either elevation works. Mine is just slightly higher, but we would like to hold the required elevation of 204, so there's no proposed changes in the culvert whatsoever. The culvert is generously oversized. For this drainage area, which includes the limits of the property, there is minimal increase in flow coming through that culvert for any storm event. The size of the property is roughly 3 acres on one lot, a little more on a little more on the other side. So we have about 3 acres that's flushing through the culvert right now. And we have an increase of maybe 2 or 3 inches of water coming through that culvert, which is 3 feet tall and 4 feet wide. It's a very large culvert, and it's for an intermittent stream which dries up during certain times of the year. So resetting it to 204 will function just fine. And any additional features on the project, I'd like to mention that I believe Frank had consulted with the water department regarding a water line, and with our client's agreement here. The water main to be provided to these 2 lots, I believe was at the recommendation of the water department also, right?
Yes.
Is an 8-inch main taken from Lincoln Street all the way into the this point in the project at the hammerhead, the T, if you would, where we have proposed a hydrant. The hydrant was originally on the street, but now it's shown inside here. That would be better for fire prevention. And whereas there was no 8-inch main proposed before, there was just 2 1-inch water services. Now an 8-inch main is coming off the 16 all the way into this point on the roadway. At this point, you will have your 2 taps running to each building, each lot. So I think that slight change there makes everybody happy all around. The roadway still remains proposed as paved. We've shown the build out for each lot. There is soil testing data available on this project. You do not see it located on the plan because I've never located it and Frank's never located it per se, but there's enough substantial information that Mr. Adams can provide. The testing goes back into the 80s. There's testing done by several companies out there. The soil test results, there's at least 1 perk test result up in this area that shows the perk tests were 30 minutes per inch or less. And that's agreeable with the soil types that are out there. There may be some other rates, Bill, I'm not sure if I got all the information exactly.
Well, yeah, there's one behind the house that was a better rate than in front of the house. There's two sets of testing was performed on that lot. And then there was 2 sets of testing on this lot as well. On the other lot, it was 2003 and 2014 was the most recent. So we have a handful of perks.
If I may go through the reviewers' comments, there was a few, they were rather, some are important, they're kind of minor, but I could explain each one of them. There may be a few changes we have to make on the plan for agreement with what we're proposing. But the first comment that the peer reviewer made was provide a center line showing stationing on the plan, and that we will add, that's not a problem. Indicate the 2 weirs proposed for the stormwater basin. There's one detail shown for 2 weirs. They are identical. It's the same weir, so we have one detail for both. Provide a typical.
I'm sorry, so you'll update the plan to indicate that it's typical for both?
Yes.
Weirs?
Yeah. On the detail, which is provided on a subsequent sheet, will indicate it pertains to both weirs. And we'll make sure on the plan view right here that both weirs are the same size. So they'll be in agreement with each other. Comment 3 was provide a typical detail of roof runoff infiltration system with support and calculations. Again, if it's a stormwater management issue, it's not required. We have provided infiltration through what I would call a plastic chamber, if you would. There's all types of varieties, but there's one on each side of the building, and they're adequate to capture the roof runoff from each building. And they're designed through the 100-year storm event, so they do not add any runoff from the roofs to the project. Revised plan showing grades to match, centerline road grades above. There's a slight issue about grading. We just have to double check on the elevations that are proposed to make sure they're in agreement with any of the details. The reviewer recommended including a 12-inch stone diaphragm on the road edges to provide additional pre-treatment of runoff. What is provided is what I would consider to be to the maximum extent practical for this location. And that's capturing the runoff on both sides of the road as much as possible, directing it into treatment in a sediment forebay, and then additional treatment through a swale. If the applicant is so willing to add a 12-inch stone diaphragm on the side of the road, providing we can fit it, because this is a tight location, it would offer a slightly more treatment. And it's just a 1-foot wide strip on each side of the road, if possible. It's typically so many inches deep. They do fill up over time. You know, it's nothing that's going to last forever, so I don't want anybody under the false impression that that's a cure-all from here on out. But it does offer some additional improvements.
Can I point out one thing also? Everything that we're doing is not required. Not required by your bylaws, not required by the state. I'm downgrading it to everybody. So I'm handling everybody else's water. And I'm doing this, performing this stormwater management in this design to help the board be able to tell the neighbors, which they're not even coming anymore, to make them feel better. It's very expensive. It's $5,000 I've spent to do this. And I'm trying to do everything I can do, but it's starting to get, starting to pinch a little bit. And, I just wanted to say that and get that on the record.
Okay.
Comment 6 was include a stone construction entrance to reduce sediment tracking on the road. That'll be added to the plan. That's very commonplace. That's not a great deal of difficulty. We'll add that to the plan. Identify potential stockpile areas on the plan. I'm assuming he means soil stockpiles during construction, and we will be able to show that on the plan. Again, we do have limited areas where we can show some stockpiles, but we will keep them as far away as possible from any sensitive areas. Comment number 8.
I'm sorry, and you said that you would include a stone construction entrance to reduce.
Yes, that's correct. Provide sections that propose culverts to show a relationship between existing elevations on adjacent properties, proposed walls, roadway section, and to show how the work will not extend into adjacent properties. Well, all work proposed right now is within the property lines for the locust property. To show cross-sections of each one of these points right here for these culverts, that's rather a tedious task. What we will show is some spot elevations just off property, and compared to the existing, the proposed invert elevations for the culverts, you'll see that we're receiving water. They're designed, if there's any water in these individual backyards, that the water will convey through these pipes. The review will call them culverts, or equalizers if you would. Side to side at the entrance right here, and also front to back. We have 5 proposed in all, right here. Sorry, it's right here at this angle, my apologies. And this is to assure that there is no water that will accumulate in the backyards here, because this roadway comes up slightly to get it at a proper elevation to offer enough cover over these concrete pipes, which are needed to convey any water, so we don't back up into any one of these properties. Provide soil test data indicating seasonal high groundwater elevations within proposed basins and swales. That is actually not a requirement if you were to read the stormwater management standards, because the swales, as I pointed out, it's a wet swale. They can be designed in poor soils, and they're supposed to be at or in the water table. So the elevation of the water table is rather irrelevant, but we have determined the water table, looking at the elevation of the wetlands out here during the wet season. The water table is, given the frozen water that I was walking on, is shown at the contours of about 206. So between 206, 206.5, that's the estimated high water mark in this area. It does change throughout the site as the contours come up, and that's evidenced in soil testing. The water table may be anywhere from 24 to 40 inches below the contour. Could be 210 over here, but it might be 40 inches. Over here, it's elevation 206, and it's at 206. The water table does vary slightly as the contour of the land allows, but we have designed it for the right elevation in this area. And the roadway will be above the water. If there is any water, the pipes will convey it properly from one side to the other. The pipes, the inverts are set about 4 inches, maybe half a foot above the high water mark. So we're not trying to intercept the water table. If there is any stormwater that develops on the west southerly side of this road, it's not going to back up. It's going to go through the culverts and into the wetlands as if the roadway was never there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go right ahead.
I'm not sure I understood what you just said, so I'd just like to briefly recoup. You're saying that you've determined where the water table is and that you are above the water table for the basins, or that it doesn't matter where the water table is because the water is going to flow through your system and out?
Well, for the wet swale, right, which is set at 206, that is the high water mark for this area, this immediate area. So we've set the wet swale per stormwater management requirements. It's at or in the water table.
Right.
So it affords some storage, because the berm comes up to 207. Before, at 206.8 is where the top of this berm is, the overflow. The elevation of the berm is slightly higher up here, but the overflow is just a little notch below the top of the berm, so it doesn't come over. It'll spill over the.
So what was the elevation of high water hit the water table?
About 206, 206.50.
And then your invert elevation is what?
The invert elevations are we have 206.40. 207 on one side here, 207 over here, then they're at 206.50 on this side. They were set slightly higher on this side because the spot grades, Frank can elaborate on the spot elevations in the backyard, they were higher than they were on this side. So we wanted to be sure that we were still lower than these spot grades, but yet we could convey the water from one side to the other without any backup in most people's yards. So all inverts are not exactly at the same elevation, they're very close. And we've made sure that there is a pitch on all of the equalizers or culverts, because I know that was a comment at the first meeting, that they were set, they appear to be set level, which they were, but with a little bit of pitch, that'll help facilitate water to make sure it goes towards the wetlands where it wants to go right now.
So on the side over here, that's 6 inches over, what, like 30 or 40 feet? It goes down 6 inches over.
Yes.
My plan keeps
Right here, it's only a
rendered.
tenth, just a tenth of an inch.
Okay, great.
From one side of the roadway to the other, which is about 22 feet. Very slight, less than 1% slope.
And then, so the water table that you base in the forebay area is consistent with, say, the test pit data, the closest test pit data that we have?
Yes,
It was 106, in that, you said there was a test pit up in that, the left section over there somewhere?
in this area
Yeah.
up here, best I can tell, I don't have an exact location of the soil testing.
But
yet.
there was a soil log that indicated the modeling was at a certain elevation, and that was 106 on that test pit.
That was elevation, I think on this side, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but the test pit data, I think, was 40 inches up on the left lot. I saw that it might have been close to 24 to 30 inches on the right
So
lot.
40 is what 20 is?
Well,
I just can't come up.
it depends where the test pit was located.
Okay,
I
right,
don't
yeah.
have the exact location of
Okay,
all
so
that.
they were saying from there.
For example, we have elevations
No, I get you.
208 to
If the
210.
elevation goes up and down by a foot, then that.
Right. And the water table is not flat, across the site.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
As it rolls, you'll see the water table kind of roll over the land.
I get it.
Mr. Chair, just because I have to leave, could I ask a couple of questions? I have to leave, but I would like the board to hear the answers. First, I would like to comment. One of the requirements for submitting a subdivision plan is that you show your test pit data and the data logs. You've explained that they were done, the information exists somewhere, but you didn't locate them. Mr. Adams said they were done as frequently as 2013 and 2014.
I've got the results.
Again,
Okay,
I'm gonna have to leave, but I do think that that data should be shown on the plan. You mentioned that these are supposed to be wet swales, so they're supposed to, will they drain, and that's the next comment underneath comment 9 by the peer reviewer. Recommend developing a profile of anticipated flow path through the culvert to show the basin and swales will empty between rainfall events. So is it the intent that these are supposed to be wet with standing water, or just wet that they're at, or just at high groundwater level? Are they supposed to empty and be dry most of the time? Because I think that would be a concern of the abutters, if these are holding water over a period of time. So, and in reading the report, I wasn't sure that the peer reviewer felt that they have not seen the responses to
That's
their
correct.
comments. So again, I would suggest that we allow them the opportunity to review and provide either further comments or say, okay, we understand that and that makes sense. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. We will review the planning board's submittal requirements here regarding soil test data. I'm not sure that it says it actually has to be located on the plans. I know it does have to be provided. I may be wrong. If it's required to be on the plans, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, without taking the time to dig through them.
It's just a little difficult to
Just
show exact locations when I don't know where.
Well,
they-
maybe that's a conversation you can have.
Okay.
We can show approximate location, give
Well, that's something, I mean,
relatively close
Well,
area.
what plenty of pieces of
without
land,
being-
I'm sure you pretty much know where they were, so.
Yeah,
you can
without being
ballpark it.
pinpoint specific, we can show some approximate
Right.
location.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, is it a process of whereas, through the peer review, they were suggesting that to show that the system is going to work, but how far do we want them to go with the peer review as far as, costs instead of.
Right, well, I think, you know, I
That's
think,
sort of what's
for
going on.
example, you know, there's the talk of the 12 inches of stone on the side, and that's, to me, that's like pervious pavement, it's great in theory. But we haven't seen a vacuum truck in Easton yet on any of these subdivisions, and it's gonna fill up, so, and there's no, you know, but I understand that's sort of a caveat when you do peer review, get 10 engineers reviewing something, and you'll get 10, you know, so, but I think what's probably the best course of action is, what is the norm here? That you'll submit your replies to their 12 or 14 things, and then, you know, and then they can, y'all can talk and figure it out. I mean, I think for the most part, it seems pretty minor, most of it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with, I mean, I think the stone, I think it's an idea he brought up, I don't tend to agree with it, so, especially in this case. And I think in terms of, I don't have the subdivision rules and regs memorized, so, but that's why we have a staff planner and we have engineers, so you guys can figure out the soil logs, if, you know, if it's, but I don't anticipate requiring anybody to go out and jackhammer through the frozen ground to do something else, especially if they were down to 14. Can't be that hard to figure out ballpark it.
And again, we can show some approximate,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it seems like you feel comfortable with it, but at the same time, just when we look at it, we see everything at 206, and it sounds like there would be water wherever the elevation is 206, which is, you know, quite a bit of the, I mean, if it were to go up another 5 inches, then that would be, you know, then we look, I'm not asking for a map of what's gonna fill up when, but it just seems like the water starts filling up the drainage system quickly, but
Well, this is what happens, if I may. At 206 here,
it sprays out to that huge area, right? Yeah.
Right.
this culvert has an elevation slightly lower than 206.
So everything starts moving along.
And it's not, it's acting somewhat as a little bit of a plug, just because it was set a little too high. But you have to jump 206 here in order to make it back up here. And it's flowing out. It's not gonna back up over here. And another thing I did, getting down to the comments, there was a request to expand the drainage area study as part of the stormwater analysis, and I must tell the peer reviewer, no, that's just not necessary, because there's total of 3 acres actually that come through the culvert. There's a bunch over here that bypasses the culvert because it comes down a dry ditch. So this 3 acres, I just played around with the modeling, and I threw in a couple larger scenarios. You know, what if the lot was 5 acres, 10 acres? I got to about 55 acres before the culvert reached a height of 3 feet of water. We're looking at a 3 acre site, 55 compared to 3.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think a good course of action is, right, get on the phone, even do a conference call with Stephanie in the peer review. I mean, you know, you can push back where needed on some of this. And I don't see anything here that can't be overcome. And a couple things that are necessarily going to be required
we just
based
wanted
on
the
future
opportunity,
past practice.
excuse me, we just wanted the opportunity to explain
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
what
I
we've been
appreciate
doing
it.
so far. Sometimes you don't get that, seeing one reviewer talk to the other.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Does the board have any questions right now?
I was just gonna ask.
What's been going on?
Could you just touch on whether, when you say it's a detention or retention, if it's a detention or retention area, the forebay, is it wet? Is it supposed to have standing water in it or no?
The sediment forebay, which is a requirement in order to get the credit for total suspended solids removal,
Yeah.
it precedes a wet swale.
Okay, so the wet swale then.
Right. It's not designed to hold water.
But it's at
It's at an elevation of 206, and that's what I consider to be very close to the high water mark out there. So it's a wet swale, which is supposed to be at or in the water table, so it's not designed to drain. That's not its purpose. It's not designed to fill up and hold water either, but it levels out with the surrounding water table, which will vary on this property. As my client can attest, the culvert dries up during the drier
Completely.
periods, and you can walk through here and there is no water. So you'll find that that time of year, the wet swale will actually be slightly dry. But it'll be close enough to the water table, but it's not supposed to be submerged. During a sizable storm event, say this week during the wet season, it will have some water in it, but it'll equalize and come out to about the elevation of the surrounding water table, which is the frozen ice at an elevation of 206, which is also the elevation of the bottom of the swale. So we're not trying to design it to hold water. It's just temporarily holding it, it's treating it to remove some suspended solids.
And the culvert's been designed at 204. That's where it's approved and where it's supposed to be. And when they put it in, they put it in too high. So it's actually holding water. If that culvert goes in and it goes to 204, then that water should level off at some point and also drop down to
So you think the
205,
water
204.
table's gonna drop with the
Yeah,
culvert being lower?
so it'll be taking it easier through that wet swale, that wet,
Mr. Adams has a current order of conditions on this property from the Conservation Commission for the construction of one home up here on the right-hand side. The order of conditions specifically states that that culvert must be lowered down to the 204, which he is certainly planning on doing.
We've discussed
and
it.
the berm has to come out also,
Right.
behind the property.
Okay, so I just wanna throw this back to the board, because we have a big, instead of rehashing stuff, we have a big agenda. Are you good,
I'm good.
Peter?
Yeah, sure, yeah, I just suppose just on that one area we're focused on, I mean, you kind of think of it almost like sort of part of the swamp, but it's removing the suspended solids at the same time. So it's improving the groundwater, and if it weren't there, it would still get wet anyways, because it's almost part of the wetland itself anyways. And, yeah, and just, maybe on the final plan, it could mention that it's going to remain a private road. Sometimes the plan would say that, so it's sort of it's documented. That's all, thank you.
Deb, do you have any questions?
Already answered my question, so, nope.
I'm good.
Good, all right. Is there anybody in the audience here? Okay, so, you guys good? So we should continue this, obviously. You have any more, you all set? I think
All set.
so. All right, so we're someone to make a motion. Do you wanna go to our next meeting? Right?
That'd be perfect, thank you.
Which is, when is it?
June 28th?
Motion to continue to the next meeting on February 25th.
No second.
Oh, yeah, it's the 20th. Is there we have a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, thank you.
All right, next up is 300 Turnpike Street, Southeastern Motor Sales. Oh, I hate these laptops.
We don't have the TV.
Nope.
We don't have the TV.
We've had bigger
You
opportunities.
can't depend on technology.
I didn't bring a lot of plans with me.
We have plans.
I'm offline, how am I offline?
He's not working too well
It's
tonight.
not.
Yeah, that's well.
No, I'm just looking for the plan. Suzanne, do we have a copy of the
We
plan?
did.
No, I'm sorry, you keep that.
Oh, I got a second one. I got a second
Oh,
one.
okay. All right, well,
Here's one.
yeah, if you have one, maybe we can, for the board.
Yeah.
Maybe I
You
can
want
see
one?
it. My computer is not working. All right, when you're ready, feel to identify for the record and.
I don't think that's not,
Ted?
This is,
that's not the same.
Did I pull the wrong one? I pulled the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yes, 300 Turnpike.
that way confusing.
Sorry.
Now, so just before you start, have you, I don't know if we've seen this, but I don't know if it's for ZBA, have we, is this continuing?
No,
This is
well,
the
this
first
is the
time.
first.
All right, so did you go through, was there a ZBA file?
Yes.
Okay. that's fine.
Twice.
That's fine, okay, so I just wanted to get my head on straight. All right, feel free, yeah?
Twice. Bruce Pilling from Pilling Engineering. I'm here with Derek Gaultier from
Welcome.
Southeastern Motors. This is to put an addition on the existing garage that's on the site at Southeastern Motors down there. He's removing what's now the existing sales office and an area where they used to bring underneath the canopy to get pictures of the various cars for marketing purposes. They want to put this addition on the side in that. Derek's come in to talk to Stephanie about it. We put on there the flow in there. They moved the display around, if you've gone by down there. You know, different times it's a different set of displays in the area. I've shown where the parking for customers are in that. We got, over the weekend I got it, because the staff report as to what she said you're looking for. It's in the business zone, it's an addition, we're gonna be removing some. It's, she had asked before for us to put in a roof system for doing it. It's all in paved area, so we're not adding any additional runoff. We're actually, in a sense, we're cleaning it up because roof is clean water, if you want to put it that way, as opposed to pavement being dirty. But we'll still run the roof into the infiltration. This is also, this is surrounded by the 40B that's been approved down there for Mark Perrin and Tad DeVuto. In case, just, I assume most of you know the area in that. So we're not doing anything new pavement or anything like that. We're not trying to regrade anything. We're trying to just keep it as it is and extend the building so they have a nicer sales office. And they have a bay in there that they can bring the cars in to do their marketing there. One of the questions was, and I didn't have an answer for it, and I forgot to mention it to you, is the height of the building.
We don't have that?
It's not directly on the,
There's a picture of it, but it doesn't show the height.
I went through the whole set of plans. It looks like it's about 26 or 27 feet, because they had the height of the truss and then they had the height of the wall. But it's like, nobody put the actual,
Is it a one-story building?
basically a one-story building. That's the,
60 by 18 by 48. So 18 high? Is that right?
yeah. I don't know what I got off of one of these.
I would say it's probably, I'd probably say it's about 18 high, based upon the fact it's a square building.
Looks like it could be.
Yeah, I downloaded the whole set of plans.
Well, but yeah, so
I think
it's within the bylaw anyway, so that's really all we have to say. Okay, so let's see. So Stephanie's notes. The proposed uses are consistent with the existing uses in the area. The board should request the applicant provide a lighting plan, landscaping plan, and provide the height of the building. The applicant should clarify whether stormwater catch basins currently exist on the site and explain how the project fully complies to the stormwater management regulations. So what say you?
It really doesn't have to, because it's a redevelopment of a thing. We can go through that whole argument. We're trying to not change anything outside the area of where the addition is. We're trying to take and actually infiltrate more of the water on the site by taking the new thing and putting it in. It's
So
still,
it sounds like you need to just create a narrative, a little paragraph for our
yes.
director of planning and things like that.
We can do that, and we can,
and that'll take care of that one.
and semi-fill out one of the forms that says,
Well, I don't think it, whatever, I mean, it's, like you say, it's existing, I think you can just, you can do whatever, but just put it, she's just looking for it, for the record, put it.
yep.
With that, as opposed to, we're not, see, we're a good planning board, we're not gonna make you create a plan for it.
But I want to go back to the lighting.
Yeah.
There was no real new lighting putting on the building,
Okay.
because the parking lot is very well lit. I did not show where all the parking is there, but if you drive by there,
So can you just add the existing lighting on the plan?
I could probably pick it up.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, we've replaced over the last 7 years, we replaced all the lighting.
yeah, I
And
mean,
we've actually
just
added poles.
whatever it is, just put a couple things, just say existing lighting to remain. That way,
Yeah.
it's existing, your grandfather, but, I mean, to her point, I understand, it's not,
No, and
It's
it's
not
not
on
on
there,
there, but
so-
I wanna bring up whether or not you wanted something on the
Right,
building
you're
or
not gonna put
something like
everything on
that.
there until, right, yeah, you figure out what needs to.
Yeah,
be there,
it-
yeah, otherwise you, yeah.
But if you go down there, it's,
Well, you need to light the exits off the building for code.
yeah,
So, if you're putting the light over it, you should show it.
okay.
yeah, well, right, you have a new, right, you have new doorways, I mean, I'm assuming,
You have to light over.
There's gonna be a doorway,
Yeah, we'll put over
yeah,
the
I
windows.
mean, obviously,
Well,
some of the existing lighting's gonna have to change, because you're taking down a portion of the building.
yeah, but there's nothing on the
There's literally
building,
nothing, it's
on
a
that
median
side of the building.
Okay, but,
Over there.
okay, but you're gonna have to add lighting, like where you have, to Wayne's point, where code, you know.
Yeah, for the,
So
for the
just, so
doorway.
just put them on the plan, that's required in site plan,
Okay.
so just, you know,
That's easy.
and what about landscaping, you gonna do any?
I figured we put we'll put curbings in front of the building. We'll put some nice shrubs in front of the window, something just small and.
Yeah, so a
I like
couple of
wood.
green areas, so just wherever you just real quick draw on.
Well,
any other green area.
if you look, I had left a little area in front, but I can't put it in front of where the door to drive in is, and then there's gonna be the walkway.
Yeah, but
to
just
go in.
talk to your client and wherever you want, just represent them.
Okay.
We just any landscape is required on the site plan. So if you're not gonna do any, don't put it on there. But if this plan tells me you're not gonna do any, which she may have an issue with, or we may have an issue with.
And if they're
So
indigenous, then I'll help you smooth the
that's
process.
right.
Smooth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pick some native plants. We'll get you in and out. You know?
Yeah.
Come on, you know the drill.
No,
You know the
that's
drill.
all right.
Save paper.
Okay, board members, questions, comments?
I've got one.
Anybody need to see this?
I've got one that's more of a caution and it's not under our purview, but how old is the roof on that existing building that you're keeping?
Exists brand new, we just did it.
But the structure is part of the original building.
40
Did you calculate the snow load that you have on that existing roof?
it's cinder block building and
You took a look at the snow load, 'cause
One-
you're putting a tremendous snow load on that existing roof.
Morton came out with a structural engineer and they did an assessment before we even started the project.
You have that in writing?
I can get it from Morton.
I don't need it, you should have it. I've never seen a building of that age with that roof, and adding an 18-foot wall next to it without doing some kind of improvements to the roof for snow.
But the
I'll
roof,
leave it at that.
Spoken like an
done
experienced
it.
industrial architect.
I've done it dozens of times. You take it up with the building inspector, I'm just giving you a forewarning that if you're not touching that roof, you may have an issue. If you're not improving its structure.
Has nothing to do with us on this board, he's just trying to give you some advice.
Yeah, no,
Just
I'm
trying to
not,
give you a heads up, that's all.
no, all right, because of the big wall next to it,
Yes, you're putting a big wall next to it, means you're gonna have a big snow drift running down from that wall onto your existing roof. And that existing roof is not designed to handle that amount of snow.
Oh, because the new one's taller than the
Yeah.
old one, so it's gonna get stuck.
There's a
right
whole
there.
section
I've
of
done
code
it,
just on
done
that.
it,
That's the
dozens
south,
of times.
but that's the south side, right? So
no, I'm just curious, I'm
Yeah.
just.
And I'm
well,
saying it because you've got a pre-engineered building here, and I know that they've counted that out of their scope of work.
Morton sent out an entire staff before we move forward with the addition, so
And I'm sure their
I'll revisit-
contract
I'll-
tells you that they are not responsible for any of the existing buildings.
I'll revisit it with them.
Yeah,
That's just our helpful architectural.
No, that's,
I
I,
just can't look at it without.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I'm sorry.
It's-
I'm fine.
You all set?
Yeah, I'm-
Anything? You?
No.
Do you propose any signage on the building at all?
We have signage on the existing building that's facing 138. I'm not really sure yet till it goes up and see what it looks like. So we're gonna wait and see when it's done, when it's up, and at the very least, obviously put sales office on there, I mean.
So you might wanna show it on the plan, or you'd have to come back.
Well, not if it's a sign on the building and it's not lit, that's out of our purview, that wouldn't come here. If you're changing site lighting or doing anything internally illuminated, then that would be coming here, yeah.
Okay.
That would get tagged by the building inspector anyways.
Okay.
When you get to that point.
We have quite a bit of signage now, so We have a couple very good size signs as it is, so maybe just something small.
Yeah, you may be over the, you do have a lot of signage. You might be over what's allowed anyways. Might not be able to. No, I mean, he's grandfathered, but anyways, but that's,
Yeah, but we talking about sales office?
but
Above the
again,
door?
if that's internally illuminated sign, then you'll be coming here, 'cause you won't get a building
I
permit.
don't think that,
If it's not internally illuminated, it has nothing to do with
no,
this.
it's just like a thing so someone that's
Right.
older and can't see well.
But to Deb's point, just make it pretty. But site plan, if you're adding site lighting or something, or doing, that would be.
It might also look nice just putting it on, because we're gonna have a good amount of glass, it might just look good putting it on the glass, so. We'll see how it looks.
Yeah,
when
which
it's
that's
done.
even, I think that's exempt.
Yeah, but then they turn the light on the inside, and it'll be shining through it.
Take a car, cut it in
better
half,
not
put it
be
a couple feet,
blinking.
throw it on the wall.
I love that.
Wouldn't that, I like that little
You
character.
definitely need to check the structure if you do that.
The snowdrift on the hood of that Corvette.
We'll install heating elements all around.
That's
the
right.
the First
There
thing
you
we
go.
do.
All right, so we just need to continue, I think. Oh, did I go to you guys? I'm sorry.
I'm all set.
Forgive me.
Thank you.
I'm still,
Still not paid.
delirious with pain from today's resetting of the arm. So, all right, so you're going to request to continue, so we're gonna continue, so you can take care of those couple of items. And
Well, I'll put together
Yeah, we'll just
a little report or something.
yeah, just, you
And
want
I'll
me to
get-
talk, you know what, I just, a report, even just have me do a paragraph, I don't know what's I need. But, whatever, you do whatever you want.
Just-
Um,
We'll
so-
address it somewhat, and we'll put a
Yeah.
little bit more information
Yeah,
about
do
landscaping and,
existing lighting, a couple new lighting that you need, we're all good.
so.
Thank you.
All
Okay.
right, motion to continue?
To make a motion to continue 300 Turnpike Street to the next meeting, February 25th.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, hearing none?
Yeah,
All
we're
those
gonna,
in
we're
favor?
gonna have the
Oh.
TV.
All right, motion looks unanimous.
Yeah.
Right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, everyone, have a good night.
All right, 134 Main Street, Andrew Daniels. Andrew Daniels. I didn't see him either. Do we have him here?
Unless they're downstairs.
Unless they're downstairs, I can't do anything about that.
No, so let's just hold,
Yeah, maybe they'll come back.
let's hold this to the end, see if Stephanie comes
Okay.
back. All right, next up, Weber Farms, I saw Mr. Judas up there. All right, Weber Farm, I will be recusing myself. If you guys hear me screaming in pain, just, put me out of my misery.
Well, good evening,
Can you introduce yourself?
Alan Drunas, Weber Farms Estates. So I'm here tonight with some minor and moderate changes to some of our houses as things evolve. And I guess I'll start with lot 12
Thank you.
was the one that was the most recently approved. Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so this one's
So
real.
you approved the preliminary, well, the
No,
first set
you
of
actually
plans and
approved,
then-
no, you
yeah.
approved something that was for real.
Yes.
And the only thing that this one changed was initially we had a half circle in the roof, which
Yep.
per your comments, we kind of went back and relooked at it, and we've done it through moldings, but we've kept the roof straight just so that the metal roof doesn't. I mean, it can be done. Anything can be done, but it's practical wise, it wasn't working financially and practical wise. So that's the only change that we made to it. Window grills are 2/2s, which is what we originally approved. I know we had two other houses that were 6/1, and I mean, I personally I like the 2/2s, but mixing it up a little bit, I think is okay. I think either one goes with what we're trying to establish for a theme here. So, unless you have a problem with it, that's all we did for change here, is just that, change the roof on the farmer's porch.
Now this is, so when you when you take a left into the subdivision,
It's
there's
not-
one that's built, right, and then there's the foundation, and there's
Then this is the
and
next
third
one.
one?
This
So
is
which
this-
one is this one?
The third one.
Okay, so this one there's no foundation.
There's trees there right now.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, that's that one.
Anyone, any questions
Oh, yeah.
on,
All right.
comments on this plan?
We're good.
No, okay.
Okay.
Next, please.
Next is lot 13.
Thank you.
And this is the foundation.
This is the foundation that, right now, there's a deck. They're just framing the first floor
Now,
deck.
is the foundation, is the footprint bigger than the original one?
No, footprint stays exactly the same. We eliminated and I'll show you what was approved. I only have one copy of what was approved, but, and I'm gonna have to work off of that too. But so we eliminated this dormer that's on the garage, on the single car garage, there's no longer a dormer.
Yes.
We changed the roof lines a little bit to pick that garage up because we needed room for a closet up in that master bedroom. And again, other than that, those are really the only two major changes. We kept the 5-foot knee walls on the other part of the house so that we don't end up with a balloon framing type of situation, so that it's not too high. Everything conforming to height regulations as it was previously and as it is now. So it was really just a change in that garage area and still trying to maintain, you know, the look of not having a 3-car garage by doing 2 different types of doors and kind of keeping that separate. I think that's the only change that we made on that one.
Yeah, you know, because when I was trying to look at the old one compared to the new one, I couldn't really tell which, because there were so many sets of plans on there that
Right.
it's sort of hard to
This
keep
is
track
it.
of, yeah.
This was what was
I mean,
approved.
yeah, I mean, I think in the
and
future,
this-
like, you know, since I'm not the best at looking at the aesthetics anyways, but I kind of think of the way, like how big it is on that lot, so, you know, going forward, I think one of the things that I would consider is, you know, if the second go around is,
Yeah.
you know, 20% bigger, that's a
No.
much bigger house on these.
Footprint never
these are pretty,
changed.
you know,
It's mostly, it's just, like I say, a roof line and a dormer
these
on the
aren't big
garage.
lots, right, yeah, so-
And yeah, I guess if I wasn't here to say it, this one probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
showed up,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but again, from day one, we're trying to work, you know, as developers, builders, and as the board,
Yeah, I know, but then you get
to
to
try
the
to
next
make
step,
this.
and people have certain, you know, they want a certain look into it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Any
And
other-
plus, we needed logistically, as much as the board really doesn't care what the inside looks like,
No,
we have to
No, I
care.
get it, right, yeah. Yeah.
Because it really impedes sales.
You have to show something first, and then you have to
Right.
sell it second,
Yep.
and in the process, there can be changes.
So
Any-
that's
Any
that.
other questions on this one?
Okay. Now,
I don't think so.
now, we'll go to the last one is lot 14. Okay, this one, the more dramatic change. This one, I'm gonna blame my partner, because he's not here tonight. I'm gonna blame framers and just a lack of communication. We did not end up with a double window over on the gable on the garage. Didn't happen during construction. And the board and bat on the garage is now clapboard in lieu of. And it's not a cost savings thing, it's just cost prohibitive to rip it off and do it now. Personally, I like the board and bat, and you're gonna see it on one of the future houses, because I want it integrated into the neighborhood more than once, several times I think it should be. Didn't happen on this house, and I guess we're here begging for forgiveness, asking if we can leave the clapboard and the double window. That's, you know, it's unfinished space, it's not even finished space, it's just a garage attic, so to speak, so it's not like it's living space. With the clapboard, it probably looks, you know, better without it. And we do have a little eyebrow roof over the garage doors, which is more of a practical thing for people with rain and whatnot, not falling in front of the doors. That's the change that happened there.
Have you guys seen this?
You're fully sided?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that's not sided is that middle A, which it has, they it was their lame attempt of, and that's when I stopped them, they put a hardy, like plywood, and then they put a couple of bats that
So
don't,
they were
it's
gonna
just
put the board and batten
on that little
central
piece,
gable,
but it,
but you don't wanna do that.
I don't think it's gonna look good.
Well, the problem is it's tall and you're gonna have a seam in your board and batten, right? 'Cause how tall is your board and batten? You're talking about doing you're talking about doing it here?
No, right, just this here.
Just in the
just
Just
triangle.
that there,
Oh,
yeah. I don't think it would look right, to be honest with you, because you need, to me, the board and batten has to go, you know, it should have gone right down to the, like the original. He has the original one right
yeah,
there.
Yeah, right
I
here.
think,
You're saying just do the new triangle and board and batten?
no, yeah, I don't wanna do
You
that.
don't
Yeah.
want
Oh,
I
you
wanna
just
put-
need just
I
about.
wanna
would
put-
have to agree.
So
Okay.
you've got nothing there now?
Well, I got,
You got-
half a
Yeah.
attempt at board and batten, just in this triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanna just clapboard the whole thing, and, we did do the metal roof like we, you know, and, I mean, you know, it's not at all an undesirably looking house, it's, you know, and again, it's, people are gonna drive in, it's a nice looking house, and we, I think we, you know, certainly did more right than wrong, but this is not what you approved, and that's why we have to come here and keep the communication lines open and work through it.
Is the space above the garage, is that finished space?
No.
It's just unfinished?
just
Is it accessible or no? Is it storage or is it attic? Or is it just part of the?
Part of the garage,
Okay.
yeah, it's not part of the attic of the house, no. Will there be storage space? There might be, but, yeah, I'm sure they'll sheet rock the garage, but it's not gonna be insulated or anything like that.
You do have board and batten on this one over the top of the doors.
Right, but we don't have that, it's a different look than what,
Yeah, I get it, and you have it over here on the porch and this.
right, so there's a little continuity there.
Yeah.
But-
Just try to
And-
point it out.
And you got the windows too, so I think that one, you know, that's a different look.
Mm.
If you did it in the triangle and then you did it under the porch, then maybe it would work. Or
Right.
Yeah, well,
maybe if you did it
that's
in-
what I'm saying.
Yeah, or if
This
you did
one
it in
has
both
there.
triangles, maybe
I agree.
you could possibly could.
Plus, the
throw in
other
a
thing,
window or
the other
fit
thing
in
that
a
helps
window.
on this one is you got the metal roof at the bottom of the board and bat.
Mm.
We don't have a metal roof on the other
Well, I
one.
guess then you have this other one here, though, and it's got a little bit, you know, has a little something up top, but then it has horizontal, so I mean, it's not like a one or the other, it's sort of just, you know, whatever works and whatever's built.
Yeah, well, you don't wanna necessarily have them all the same.
Right.
No, right,
No,
yeah.
If you
no,
put the
that's.
board and batten
that's-
there, then it's like a mirror image of this one.
No, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any- So we're gonna leave the already built one alone?
I wouldn't tear it off. I wouldn't wanna see it
No.
tear it
No.
off.
Yeah.
I'll put that
Let's
way.
put
I
our
don't
effort
think-
somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah, well, without any more comments, there could be a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the revised elevations as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, so give me
Motion passes.
the old ones. That's the last
Yeah.
old one, so there's no mistake. You guys have the latest and greatest,
Yeah.
and that way it's what got approved tonight. Fair enough?
Great, thank you for
Sounds
coming in.
good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Don't let it happen
Thank you.
again.
That's right, exactly. No, believe me, I felt that over here.
It's also a whole process as well, right, so.
No, listen, I'm not making light of it. Obviously, I respect the time and effort that you guys put into coming here as volunteers. And that's why I'm here, to try to make it right, so I appreciate it.
Thank
Okay, thank you.
You wanna
Do you
send
need
them?
paper copies for me, or they're just, any paper copies for me, or?
They all
I can
have-
grab it, I can grab one, and they're on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Send
thank you.
Mr. Strange back in?
Oh, yeah.
After you're the parent of a teenager, don't let it happen again, that's just sort of the automatic, right?
Exactly, right. Just words
Yeah.
just be right out of
Yeah.
here.
I'm getting there.
Oh, you didn't realize how much this hurt until I left your smiling faces.
Yes.
So my apologies to Mr. Redwood. I skipped over him in the,
Yeah, I noticed that.
I didn't even
You'd
say
already-
it.
You'd already set the wheel in motion, so.
yeah, so, anyway,
Sorry,
so,
No problem.
as, you'll never be forgotten again. So A&R Plan 7 Willow Road. Mr. Frank Rowe.
Yes, this is a home that was constructed many years ago. The garage crosses over the property line onto the abutting property. That has been a known fact to the owners for a number of years. Actually, back in 1981, Hayward, Boynton, and Williams prepared a plan that showed the encroachment, and at that time, they proposed an easement that would go around the building, 5 feet beyond it, just so the building would at least be on an easement, usage easement. As it so happens, the home was for sale. It's recently been purchased to be flipped, to be resold again. But the party that purchased the home is the same party that owns the abutting lot. They said, great, let's straighten this out before I sell the home right now. So they want to do a Form A plan that'll move the lot line over, actually moving it over 20 feet, which would clear the house and comply with the 15-foot sideline setback. So it brings this lot back into conformity with setbacks. It actually adds a little bit of area to this lot, which is already a substandard size lot, an existing lot, but we're adding land to it. The remaining lot has 169 feet of frontage on Dungary Road, so we're not reducing its frontage at all. It has no effect on it. And it has over 46, almost 47,000 square feet of land remaining, so we're not dropping it down below the minimum. And it does, like I said, cleans up the encroachment issue.
Just a sort of just separate question, but now, when someone comes into ownership of both lots, they're not required to actually, I'm not gonna, this doesn't really have to do with what we're doing right now, but they're not required to use enough of this land to make this one fully conform?
Well, I say it's one person owned, it's
Right,
owned
yeah.
by trust, one
right,
person
yeah.
owns both trusts,
Yes.
but legally, it's
So there
legally
is a
it's
gray
separate
area there, but
ownership,
but
yeah.
I'm not gonna go there right
Yeah.
now, I'm just wondering, because
Yeah, legally it's
I
separate
always wondered
ownership, but
about
it's
that, yeah.
controlled by the same entity.
Yes.
And I'd say, because it's pre-existing non-conforming, and he's not making the non-conformance any worse.
No,
It's
it's
not
improving
like-
it.
Yeah, it's improving it.
Yeah, they were just different.
A more important question, what exactly is Dungary? And
I
did they meant to be Dungaree,
I
but
did
they
not
spelled it
name
wrong?
the road, I do not know what a Dungary is.
Well, we'll let it go this time, but from now on, we're gonna need to know the origin of names on these.
No, that looks fine with me.
Yeah, it seems to be, it all seems fine. Anybody
Looks good.
feel differently?
Good.
Suzanne, what do you think?
Fine.
All right, well, Suzanne says it's okay.
Uh,
Motion to approve.
Endorse, motion to endorse.
Endorse.
I'd like to make a motion to endorse 7 Willow Road.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second
Exactly. I didn't want to, you've had fun. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sorry about skipping you.
Not a problem, and when can we pick up the plan?
When can they pick up the plan?
They're gonna sign tonight,
Oh, perfect, perfect.
You want us to sign it right now?
Yeah,
but then I scanned it, so.
I think we should sign it
If you
now,
scan
since we did make a
What's that?
stay here later. Oh.
Tomorrow's good.
Okay, all right,
Tomorrow.
very good.
Okay.
I just needed something to tell my
We
client.
tried.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so, do we have, so 134 Main Street, let's see what Stephanie wrote on this. The board issued, and this is her discussion, the board issued a decision on December 6, 2018 that waived parking to 0 for an expansion of the Farmer's Daughter Restaurant located at 126 Main Street, just 65 feet from the subject property. The decision stated that the planning board will reevaluate the impact on parking and traffic as future redevelopment occurs within the downtown area. The applicant should provide additional information on the amount of customer traffic into the building, restaurant, the anticipated concentration of customers in the restaurant at any given point in time, and reasonably anticipated percentages of foot traffic versus vehicle arrival to the restaurant. The applicant is seeking a site plan adjustment for the renovation of portion of the structure located on the site to construct and operate a juice bar. The building consists of 3 floors with residential apartments on the second and third floors. Proposed juice bar and restaurant is located on the first floor with 20 seats for diners. Per the applicant's brief, the majority of purchases will be takeout. So didn't we, I thought we already did this.
When we talked about it for the expansion of Farmer's Daughter, just
Okay.
recently, that was the
Yeah,
last.
but I thought
So,
we did,
which was
right, but I
okay.
thought we did the juice bar. I thought we
Did
did
we
the
do
juice
juice
bar.
bar? I don't
Maybe,
think
did we
so.
have a, was there a variant? Like 6 months ago, I thought we did something.
Want to see the plan?
That's how I learned about it. Is this all a bunch of, anybody want a copy of the plan?
I'll take a peek.
I might-
Yeah.
This thing is-
It came up on my screen. So it's around back, that's the idea? Is that where-
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
parking already exists, right?
Yeah, so people have to pull around back,
And-
pull up, get their juice, and then
And now,
get out something out.
I guess this is a change of use, is this, right? Is this
And
Yeah, it's that change of use, that's what this is for, site plan endorsement. Right, exactly. So, geez, I really thought we did this. I saw a sign that there's a spa coming on the left-hand side, big sign. I mean, the parking, I mean, to me, this is, the parking exists or has been approved, right, out here. And, right, this is a change use at 20 seats from when it was business. I mean, this kind of falls in all of these. I don't think we're at the tipping point yet. You know, we've had talks in town about parking and all. I don't think we need to trigger,
Yeah.
a new parking
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
here, but I don't know any reason why, I can't think of any reason why, based on our past stances on this block, why we would not approve this, but I could be wrong. Anybody disagree, or am I missing anything?
no, it's more maybe saying, no comments or suggestions for it, but I don't really have any.
I mean, and to Stephanie's point, I understand what she's trying to get to, but let's face it, they don't know. You know, and I don't think they can come in and give us a bunch of answers, but you know what the bottom line is? Traffic, when parking becomes an issue, if there's not enough parking on the store shop,
Yeah.
then it's written in all these decisions, and we can do it here, you know, that we always have the right to circle back at this with the traffic safety committee, when and if a decision arises. The town is very well aware that these buildings have been getting renovated, and you know, going from a juice bar to going from the office space that was there to a juice bar, I don't think it's gonna have a large effect on traffic.
Yeah. My only comment is, you know, once again, the accessible spots. We've got 3 accessible spots for how many seats in the downtown area in between all the activities going down there. And I understand that the accessible spots are a percentage of the actual spots. And that's the way it's calculated. And I'm not suggesting at this time to do anything different, I just think we ought to keep that in mind as we keep moving forward, approving uses here.
Sure, well, I think what we could do, I think any motion could certainly include a letter to the applicant, especially, you know, I just saw, what was the left side of this building? I started sign on this half, I just started yesterday, I think, coming home. There's a spa, or whatever that means, I don't really know, lifestyle spa or something, coming, you know, later this year. So what was there?
Where that vacant, where the pop-up shop was?
No, the left side of this building.
Yeah,
Wasn't the pop-up shop in 150?
I was trying to get to the.
So I'm trying to think, what was in this building? Was this office also? It was.
His office was on the right.
Right, but left side was
I don't
office
remember what
also.
was it office.
I know there was at one point, there was a yoga studio. But I guess my point is that we could send a note with any decision saying, any subsequent site plan review, any subsequent site plan review of this block, we would like to see an expansion of the accessible space.
But now that's really gonna have to go on the, the public parking spot, because the ones around back, that's great that they're, they're working,
Well, that's-
it's.
Yeah, but we
I
can-
don't disagree with that,
Right,
all
yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
is,
okay, so-
we're busy developing the space and
Yeah.
we don't wanna leave behind the people
No,
that
yeah.
have.
So I guess,
mobility.
since the town owns the street, then there would sort of be like work with the businesses to find the best spots for some usefully located, handicap spots, right? Not just tucked in the corner where they're on a plan somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, so I think,
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
it does us no good just to have it on the plan.
I think any motion for approval could include that, and talking about, out on the street also, and Suzanne will, I'm sure will make sure that is, transmitted to the property owners.
You good with that?
I was just, it'd be an interesting calculation to try and figure out.
Well, the problem
how-
is, you really
because
have
it's
to
like, what,
calculate it
one
by
in-
the seats, you have to count up the seats that
Yeah,
are within the buildings and an estimate of the other occupancies that are not restaurants, to figure out what the population is, because going by the available parking here,
Well, and I thought, you brought this up last time, and I wonder if, and again, this isn't, I think it's public space, but, so maybe this is something we need to talk to our planner about, to talk to the safety committee. I'm thinking all the times I drive by, it's always so crowded, I never see an empty space there. So is that always occupied? Is that even denoted?
Is it even
Is that even marked? Is it denoted
that's
as,
the
hey,
question, is it
so I
even
think we
marked?
should, let's all,
That's where I was going,
let's do that
yeah.
next time we go by, let's see if we notice that. And then,
Yeah.
and, cause then I'll, as the chair of this board, I'll send a letter to,
Yeah.
That's what I was
To the-
getting
to
at.
the
It's not just up to the
properties.
applicant, since it's
Yeah.
not really,
Yeah.
the ones that people can use happen to be on the main street, so it's
Sure.
like, yeah.
No, that's an excellent point. All right, are you looking for a motion?
I am.
I'll make a motion unless anybody wants to jump in front of me. So a motion to approve the plan for 134 Main Street, including a letter to the applicant indicating the board's desire to review and possibly increase accessible parking.
On the street. Including
Yeah.
on the street.
Included in the street.
You did.
Is that, Suzanne, is that?
Including in the street part.
Yeah.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion passes. Oh, okay, let's do minutes.
On the minutes, I did not see the conversation that we had about the request for comment from the ZBA on the plan on Center Street.
Do you want me to tell you what happened? Not in terms
Well,
of minutes, do you know what happened?
I do know what
Okay.
it got withdrew, but I didn't see the minutes, and
I
that's,
didn't, really?
maybe I missed it.
What's
But
the-
I'm
when
not
I looked at it quickly, I didn't see it in there, and that seems as though, I know we discussed it.
Yeah, that's a
so-
good point, I don't see it.
Okay, that'll be added.
So let's hold off on these till the next meeting,
Okay.
just so you can add those in.
Mhm.
Good pickup, Wayne.
Yeah, all right.
See how you really rubbed off on
I
that?
did,
Very good.
Nice to get that in,
It's
right?
like this board is becoming a bunch of editors.
It's on video.
And that was for, the address was.
It was.
No, Center Street.
Center
It was
Street,
the,
Center Street request.
It was a request for comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, request for comment on Center Street. Alright, Weber Farm was done, meeting minutes, chair's report. Only thing, I don't know if you guys know, Charlie, Melo submitted his resignation to the board last week. He was gonna be missing a lot of meetings, and, so we certainly wanna thank Charlie for his year of spirited participation. It was nice to have him on the board, and I know we'll send him out a letter of appreciation. And so we'll be putting out for our alternate seat. And zoning prioritization, let's do that next time, because my hand's killing me. And I think we're good, we have to sign some stuff, but anybody
Did
else?
we already vote on the minutes?
Oh, we pushed them because they had to add stuff.
They were reviewed.
Yeah.
Yes, we did, Deb, don't you remember?
I was like, wait.
Are you even thinking about a test? Bring us home, Mr. Wayne.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, Easton. Thank you, ECAT. Kids, have a great school vacation.